How are you guys today? Thumbs up, good. All right. Hey, so
Outstanding.
all right. Thanks, Pete. I think you're my biggest fan. All right. With that, same rules apply. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. I'll try to stick to what we're talking about. But with that, I'll pass it over to Dana, and then I'll get ready for presentation.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a Monday night basketball meeting. As you know, because the season's been a little bit weird as far as we didn't know when we were starting, so we had started meetings in December, and then we kind of paused, and they've been sprinkled here and there. So in order to just have some kind of consistency in terms of our meetings, we're having two refreshers. One will be tonight, and one will be on the evening of the 22nd. So we're having two refreshers, and then we'll get back into the swing of the meetings with our regional presenters. So welcome back. And again, tonight's presenter is Nate Acosta. He does spend a lot of time making intro videos for everybody else. So it was nice seeing one of himself. I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool. But Nate will be talking tonight about basketball terminology, and this is a really good refresher for veteran officials. For new officials, take a lot of notes, because these are the words and terms that we like our officials to use when they're speaking among each other as well as with coaches. It'll definitely be an educational process tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Nate.
All right, thank you. So again, I just want to thank first off, I just want to thank all of you for being on. I know that we did get a few questions about meeting credit. Were you going to get meeting credit for this meeting? Absolutely. I think that anytime that we want you guys to get your meeting credit, and why not throw a couple extra credit meetings at you. But really, basketball officiating terminology is extremely important, and we talk about communication all the time, and how important it is in officiating, whether we're communicating with our partners, we're communicating with players, the coaches, and really, as we are here and we have this platform such as Zoom, and currently we have how many participants, Dana? 158, I see.
156, because you and I don't count.
That's true. Okay. Man, I wanted to count us. But, we have the opportunity to kind of go over some terminology. In this presentation, I picked a few of the main things that we like to use regularly. And I know that after Drew's outstanding meeting last week, there were a few veterans that contacted me, as well as some newer officials that had contacted me about, hey, that was such an amazing presentation, but what does RSBQ mean? And what does lead? What does crew chief mean? What does the lead referee mean? And so things like that. But terminology is huge. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the definition. And for most of these definitions, I do have either a screenshot. I either have a screenshot or a clip. Sorry, Dana, can you mute that one? Sorry.
Got them both.
It is a little. Okay. And so, well, let's get into it. Hopefully it'll only take about 45 minutes to get through this, but I want you guys to go. And first, all right, so we're going to start with home position. So anytime we're talking about home position, we're talking about home position for the three positions in a three-person system. Obviously, two-person home positions are going to be a little different than three-person. Here, we're going to stick to three-person. If you are a brand new official and you want me to put together a two-person terminology presentation, we can do that, and we can kind of have a future vet side meeting. But here we're going to go three-person mechanic. So home position. What is the home position for trail position? So typically it is the 28-foot line. Okay, and any of you that that no, there is that's where the coaching box ends before the division line, and there's a little tick on the floor. Or usually in the high school gyms, we have it is on the sideline, and it's usually on the sideline, and it's 28 feet from the end line towards the division line. Typically, that is our home position, but a lot of times when we're moving up the floor, and you're going to see in this clip, we want to be one parallel to the ball handler, right, sideline oriented, and so that we can so we have an open look, which is going to be a terminology term that we're going to use. So we have an open look at our defender on the ball handler and any screens that might happen or anything like that. The center home position is typically free throw line extended, 1 to 2 steps off the sideline. Typically, I like to set up with my heels on the sideline at free throw line extended. But I can almost guarantee that 90% of the time, my first step is always going to be towards the end line, so towards the baseline. And that is because a lot of times offenses will set up a player right there on the free throw line extended outside the 3-point arc, and that's really just going to kind of straight line us. So I like to take the step down, and now I've got that open look. Okay, so let's take a couple looks at these this trail and this center. Okay, so in this play, obviously this is a backcourt to front court situation, and our trail position, if we're talking home position, this is the 28-foot mark. And can you guys see my cursor? Somebody throw a thumbs up. Yep, that is technically the home position. But if this is trail's competitive matchup or action area, which is a term that we'll use later in this presentation, there's no sense in our trail setting up in the home position. So pretty much this is going to be the trail's home position. And you'll see that our trail in this situation, 45 degrees, parallel to the ball handler, and does amazing job of picking up the defender, right? So if you've got a notepad, write these things down. Parallel to the ball handler, 45 degrees, and sideline oriented. Okay, we want to try to stick to the sideline as much as possible. I know that there were times where there are times where you have to come out onto the floor, but a lot of times those movements will actually, you can fix those by taking a step down or a step up, and you can open that angle. So sideline oriented, 45 degrees, and parallel to the ball handler. Okay, and as you see, again, our trail has a great look, still has a great look. 45 degrees, sideline oriented, parallel to the ball handler. Still has an open look, and ball goes away. Now we're into the center position, right? Home position, center home position. Our center does a great job of, boom. As soon as he crosses the division line, he goes and he sets up. So free throw line extended, 1 to 2 steps off the sideline or heels on the sideline. I really like the center's position here. That would be the home position for the center official. And as you see in this play, you notice that there's really not a view for the center. If center stays free throw line extended, we've got a white player here, blue player here, and they've all kind of lined up. So our center definitely wants to get a better look. And now, obviously, they're no longer in the home position, but this center has a great look at all 4 players. And I cut, it's a little cut off right here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 players here, plus the offensive player here with an open look. Again, another term that we'll use. Home position. All right, boom. All right, lead gets a little more complicated, okay? There are 3 types of home positions for lead. We have the wide angle position, we have a close down position, and we have pinch the paint. Okay, and when really what happens is when we're in transition, if we split the court into thirds, let me see if I can't find. Okay, so from this angle, if we split the court into thirds, and our lead is obviously on the same side as our trail, okay? If we split the court into thirds, this is our, if you're the lead, our nearest third, our middle third, right? And the furthest third. So if, and that goes free throw lane line to sideline, free throw lane line to free throw lane line, and then free throw lane opposite free throw lane line to sideline. Those are our thirds if we cut the court into thirds. So if the ball in transition is coming up your third, the nearest third, okay, we want to get to the wide angle position. And what is the wide angle position? If in transition, and we look at our lead official here, if we're in transition, the setup would probably be right about the tee. That would be our wide angle position. Okay, we really don't want to go any further than 2 to 3 steps inside the 3-point arc. We don't need to get out to the 3-point arc. We don't, we can either open up to help with anything on the end line on that corner, because really the trail has sideline responsibility on that play. So really the tee is probably about as wide as we get. Okay. Close down position. Now, sorry, hold on. Let me go back to wide position. When the ball is in the middle third and you are in the front court, a great setup is to be wide in this position. You'll see that this play starts to develop to the leads, to the weak side. Again, a term that we'll use here shortly. As soon as the ball goes to the lead's weak side.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Well, my watch is talking to me. You'll notice that the lead will move into the close down position. Okay, and the close down position is really about a step off so in between this tick mark and the division line, the lane line, this would be the close down position. Okay, that would be a good position for the ball that is starting to move towards the opposite third. Okay, anytime the ball is hanging out in the middle third, a wide position is always probably a pretty safe open look to see 10 players and 2 partners. And so you'll see our lead starts to take a step into that close down position. Okay, and so we'll actually slide into the slide. Okay, so now our lead has done a good job of closing down. As that ball is in the middle third now, and this is talking, and Central Region did a great job of talking about positioning and front court coverage. Drew in the East last week really broke down the lead, but this is when that ball is in that opposite third, we kind of want to be patient. Obviously, we want to rotate to the ball side. We want to mirror the ball, which is a term coming up. But ultimately, we really have to look at what the matchup is. Does this require rotation? Not necessarily. We really don't have any. We don't really have an action area, a competitive matchup. This is not considered a competitive matchup. This would probably be a little more competitive. So our lead, as you can see, does an amazing job of just taking a look at that. Okay, so that lead will stay closed down. All right, and then pinch the paint. Now, in this clip, you'll see the ball goes opposite third of the lead. And obviously, the strength of the court has changed to the center side, which is the center side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 10 players on this side. Our lead definitely is feeling that pressure to move. Okay, so with that, they start to go, and he starts to pinch the paint. Recognizing we have a drive to the basket, so we don't want to complete that rotation. We can always go back. All right, there's certain times that we do not rotate, and that's on a drive to the basket, a quick shot, a quick turnover, and if I'm missing one, I know I'm missing one. If somebody wants to throw that in the chat, you can, because I'm drawing a blank on one of them. There's 4. And so our lead does a great job of just backing out of there. And now we're in position to referee again. And that's what we consider pinch the paint. Good. Any questions? Are there any questions in the chat, Dana?
There are not.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that's why I couldn't see them there. I have them behind screens. Okay. Mirroring the ball. This is a term that we use. It's not a literal term. I know that when I first started working 3-person games, you got to mirror the ball. So, that ball, the ball handler would go 1 or 2 feet to the right, then I would take 1 or 2 steps to my right, and then 1 or 2 steps to the left, and then I was just constantly going like this with the ball handler at lead. Mirroring the ball goes back to what I talked about as far as wide, close down, and pinch, and it's all based off of your thirds. So if that ball is in your third, the nearest third, stay wide, and whatever that ball does in that, you can hold your position as long as you have an open angle or an open look. And and if you need to if you need to take a step left or right based off of your matchup in order to maintain that open look, then you can position adjust. Again, a term that's coming up. But I'm going to show you a clip where we do a great job of mirroring the ball, and it goes back to the same one that we just watched. So we just want to focus on the ball handler or the status of the ball and our lead official. So pass to the wing, at the bottom of the screen, our lead starts to close down and pinch, actually. Realizes that it goes back up, but it's still in the opposite third. So our lead does a phenomenal job of hanging out tight and letting this play develop. Notice no urgency to really rotate, and it's not necessary. Again, competitive maybe, but the ball just kicked back to the middle third. And as soon as it gets to the middle third, our lead does a great job of mirroring and getting back out to that wide position. Again, we're going to close down, back to the middle, widen out, boom. Are there any questions on mirroring the ball? We don't technically have to mirror every movement. We just mirror the thirds. I get asked all the time, when do you know when to rotate? For me, it's really it's a feel thing, but it definitely is status of the ball and what third it is. But also, if the ball is in 22's hands and I've got post play in my third, and there's really no post play on the opposite third for me to move, then I'm going to go in and maybe just get into that close down position just in case, and not really feel any kind of urgency to rotate. Now, if those post players cross the paint, I may go with them, and that might cue my rotation. So that's kind of a situation where, you know, you don't have to rotate just because the ball is in the opposite third. You want to put yourself and your crew in the best position. So if the strength of the floor is still in your third, stay there. Just be aware that you may have to rotate if that starts to shift. All right, let's see what our next term is. Primary coverage. Oof. PCA, primary coverage area. You're going to hear PCA, you're going to hear primary coverage. These are all important things. And in a 3-person system, it is very important that we know our primary coverage, but it's also important that we know what our secondary coverage is. Okay, so here in these next diagrams, I'm going to show you at each position what your primary is and your secondary. Again, these are all visuals for you to kind of have an idea of what a primary coverage area is for that position, and what your secondary is, and kind of what your no-nos are. Okay, and so we'll get into that. Definitely not going to read off slides, but I will have this to share with all of you. Secondary coverage, okay, again, is the extension of an official's coverage area. This is where, again, term that we'll use, help plays, you know, crew savers, whatever you may call it. But secondary coverage is an area where if you do not have a competitive matchup and you do not have anything to referee in your primary, then extend to the secondary. But know that, again, terminology we're going to use, cadence, that a cadence whistle is going to be necessary. Okay, so referee that secondary coverage if you don't have anything, but know that your center, your lead, or your trail is going to have the first opportunity to have a whistle. And if they don't have a whistle and you have a foul, then you can come in and help. Okay, but make sure that you are 100% sure that it's a foul, and 2, obviously don't guess. Right, that's one of the rules. Don't guess on fouls, especially in your secondary coverage. You can miss in your primary, you can guess in your primary. I highly recommend you don't guess, or you don't, you know, if you're 70% sure, I would recommend not blowing in that secondary. Be 100% sure and be really good in that secondary coverage. All right, so let's talk about leads primary coverage. Obviously, green, yellow. Green is go, yellow slow down a little bit, and red is absolutely not. Okay. Obviously, there are situations where red can come in. If these players are 3-point line extended and there's nothing, well, then absolutely, let's just extend that yellow and green just a little bit further to help. Okay. Again, these are guidelines. They're not set. This is, you know, just because, you know, I have this diagram doesn't mean that it's set in stone, but use common sense that really you got 2 officials that cover pretty much this entire floor right here. Your only responsibility is, and it's actually a pretty big chunk, right, would be that. So this is the primary coverage area. Anything that is in this is, you got to be nails. You got to be money. Don't miss, don't try, or try not to miss, but definitely own that primary, throw strikes. Here in the yellow, these are help areas. These are areas where you're going to be able to help. You're going to be able to, obviously our lead has nothing in their primary, absolutely nothing. So absolutely, if we have, our center's got to be able to referee these players and these players, well, obviously that's a lot to ask of the center. So let's rely on our lead to help in these situations. Any questions on primary, secondary? Absolutely. There's a couple comments on oh, skip pass. Thanks, Pat, on the reasons not to rotate and skip pass or a quick pass. Yep, thank you. Any questions on, and then of course, I love trust your partners, especially when it comes to the green, trail and center. You just have to truly trust them. Give them the first opportunity unless you have something. All right, let's look at centers, primary, secondary, and no way, right? Obviously, this is the green is the primary coverage in the front court for a center official. Again, our center official, okay, and that is going to be half the paint to the free throw line, the end line, the nearest lane line, all the way up into the division line. Okay, so can the center help up top in the center of the floor? Absolutely. And where we see that are screens. Those are types of situations that a center might need to help a trail official. Only if they don't have a competitive matchup in their primary. Okay. If they have a competitive matchup in their primary, I promise you that the trail's not going to need help, because that's not where it's going to be competitive. The competitive matchup is going to be on the C side. It's going to be competitive. If it's not competitive, then the trail will need help. And again, opposite third, this here, we could probably extend the yellow, especially on rebounds and things of that sort that the center might be able to help with. And again, these are just guidelines, but to kind of give you an idea of primary, secondary, and hands off. Any question on center, primary, secondary?
Nate,
Sure.
Oliver Torres here.
Go ahead, Oliver.
So I got a quick little question. So your primary, let's go back to where we were at the lead, and you're in your primary coverage, and a shot goes up, and your center or your trail, they have the shoulders up, right? So that, or should they still make that a secondary?
Yeah, and you'll see, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So you notice that in this on this side of the floor, and centers, and when we get to the trail, it'll show rebound coverage. Okay, but absolutely, off rebounds, anything like that, centers and trails are going to help with those, and this allows for the center to help on a rebound in the paint, green or yellow, right? Because it is a secondary coverage. To say, from waist up or waist down, these got, many of I'm not that smart. I'm just going to referee the play. And if I see a foul, I'm going to see it. I'm not looking waist up or waist down. If it works for you, absolutely. And if it works for your crew, again, that's a pregame thing, but absolutely. The coverage areas allow for this to get covered by multiple officials. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I know that I've seen a lot of games, and I've officiated some games, but I've seen a lot where the center makes a lot of calls at when it's in the lead's position, but makes the call because they see it from the shoulders up, they see the hit. That because they think the lead.
So are we talking rebounding? Are we talking rebounding? Are we talking shots?
On the shot to the basket, you're in the lead, but the center makes a call because I think at the lead you're supposed to be chin down, right? And not follow the shot, and center's calling that fall.
Well, and again, if that center has a good open look and it's in that secondary, absolutely help with that play. If lead, is looking chin up and they don't see anything, or they're looking waist down, they don't see anything, well, then absolutely the center can come help. But ultimately, we really want to trust. And if you're going to do that, you're going to come in with a patient whistle, or quote unquote a cadence whistle, but definitely be patient.
Good. Okay, that answered my question, because I just wanted to know if that something like that when you're a center, is that something you want to look for and try and get, or you want to trust your lead and let them handle that?
You want to trust your lead, and you're only going to help if you don't have a competitive matchup in your primary. If you're quote unquote ball watching, then obviously you're going to see that. But if you have a competitive matchup, that is your primary.
Thank you,
Good.
Nate.
Yeah, no problem, Oliver. All right, let's look at the trail. All right, so you notice the trail gets a little more action than any other position, right? Um, these plays are trail plays that they're going to be able to help. Obviously, their coverage area is definitely a lot more, covers a lot more area, but they also don't have a lot of the competitive matchups. They don't have the post play, the cutters, a lot of things that happen in the paint. Okay, so really their primary job is to help in a lot of situations. Okay, and to answer Oliver's, as a trail, this is huge when it comes to rebound fouls, travels, on post players. Those are the times that the trail really wants to be able to help, because a lot of times if the ball is in the paint, there is no competitive matchup up here. So that trail has to extend into these areas. We're good with trail. All right, strong side. Okay, we brought that up, strong side and weak side, and I won't elaborate because it really, just like anything else in this play, obviously our lead is on the strong side, our center is on the weak side, and our trail is on the strong side. So we always want two officials on the strong side and one the center official on the weak side. In this case, and our strong side is we've got competitive matchup, and not really competitive, semi-competitive. The only thing I would ask, and maybe I clipped it too short, or I took a screenshot too short before the trail could get there, is that the trail be at the home position at that 28-foot mark. If that trail is at that 28-foot mark, all that trail has to do is take maybe one or two steps sideline oriented, 45 degrees, and they have a good look at the defender, any contact, and the shooter's feet. Make sure that they're behind the 3-point arc. If I'm the trail on this play, I'm probably going to be right here. And one might say that that's low, and that's okay. It's better to be low than high. And if you get beat down the floor, we're not worried about the next play. We're worried about what's happening in the front court. So get low. Don't be afraid to get beat. We're going to get beat. Trust me, they're so much faster than we are, except for maybe, a couple of you that are just speedsters, but absolutely get low on that play. It's okay. A lot of times we have officials that want to try to work this way, and really there's just not an open look. Your best look is going to be taking a step down, and you've got, again, the defender, 2 hands or 2 feet, the hands of the defender and the number of the defender. Okay. And again, the weak side, we go back to that same image. Obviously, this is going to be the weak side. Center, this is not competitive, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Action area. All right, we talk about action area, and I brought it up a couple times. It's also competitive matchup. Really anywhere on the court where in your primary there's action going on, and we don't want to take our eyes off of that. We want to stay on it. Again, same screenshot as the last. Obviously, this matchup right here is action. This is an action area. Okay. And I love our lead's position because he is in the wide position, and he's got a good open look at these two players here. Wide position in this situation is great. Ball's in the lead's third, nearest third. Absolutely, stay wide so we can referee the action area. This is an action area. This is an action area. This should be trail's action area. This should be lead's action area. Center in here. We're good. Open angle. Okay, we brought that up early on. We're always looking for that open angle. And the way it's always been taught to me is if I have this look, right, I want to make sure that I have this look. Okay, so never want this look. I want this look. And so what can I do to take a step to open that angle? Right. So I'm going to show you the center in this play from the previous clip. I loved this one clip because I was able to put the whole presentation just on this one clip. But you notice that our center does a really nice job of just setting up in a position where he knows he's going to have an open look, an open angle. He sees the ball coming and he anticipates that this player may drive to his left. But again, can he see between these two players? Absolutely. He can see the defender, 2 hands, 2 feet. Now he realizes player throws the ball out. Okay, now I can go back to home position, and now I'm going to step below the shot and maintain my open angle, my open look. We're good with that. Just a great job by the center here. Absolutely amazing. Boom. Get under that. Good. Good. So with that, to maintain that open angle, we must position and adjust, right? Position adjustment. And it's really a movement to maintain those open looks. As you saw, our center did an amazing job of adjusting his position so that he had an open angle. So let's look at.
Oh, sorry,
Yep.
there's a comment in the chat. It just from Mark Romero. He said something that is rarely discussed beyond pregame primary coverage area on a full court press.
Yep. Okay. So, Mark, if you don't mind, I'll get to that because I want to cover that in detail. All right. So when we talk about position adjustment, our trail here absolutely doesn't settle for just the look that she's given. She's going to work her tail off to make sure that she has an open angle. So she's going to position adjust. This isn't ideal, and we don't ever like to adjust like this, but it was a situation where she needed to adjust, and she did everything she could to position adjust. So she doesn't want to stay here because now she has no look. She wants to get under that play and now maybe stop, but she still has an open look at her primary shooter. She's still parallel to the sideline. She's parallel to the ball handler. She is sideline oriented and maybe a step higher, but that would be nitpicky. I think she has a great look, and she refereed that play, adjusted, great. And that's what we want. We want you to just work for those angles. Curl play, okay? Talking about curl play, that was one that was asked to me, what is a curl play? And usually it's a play that happens in the paint, and I've got the play here, that starts in leads primary and the play curls to the center, and it happens right in the middle of the paint and contact happens. Now, this is the one time that we want the center to really extend a little bit and it's in that secondary coverage, but you'll see in this play. We're going to watch 24 White here. She gets the ball and she pivots towards the center, okay, and away from the lead official. Once she pivots away from the lead official, the center has to be ready to referee this play. Boom. Okay. That is your curl play. And our lead does a really nice job of, look, he wants to put a whistle on it because it looks like a foul. But understanding that in his position, he really doesn't have the best look at that. The lead does not have the best look at that, and he would be guessing if he does put a whistle on. I think that's why he does start to go, you know what, I'm not sure, and puts his whistle back down. Now the center has the best open look, and if you can see the center's head, we've got an open look here. Is there contact? Maybe, maybe not. Again, it's blurry, we don't know. So Carmela asked, what happens if absolutely. If she goes 24 and then or 24 pivots, or she keeps her dribble and then she pivots back towards the lead, absolutely lead all day. Anything that is going towards you or coming towards you, you accept that play. If it's going away from the center, then center lay off. If it's going towards the lead, then, or if it's going towards the center, then lead needs to lay off. And I hope, does that answer your question, Carmela?
Yeah, thank you.
And a lot of times what we might see on this play is a pivot step through, right? Once she steps through, that now becomes a lead play again. Because as the contact is what we're looking for at center. If there's a step through, then the lead has the best angle to referee that play. Cadence whistle, okay? Now, let's say in this instance, there's a curl play. And the curl play goes away. And just saying for the purpose of the lesson that there is contact there. And lead knows that, you know what, this is a curl play, curl away, stay away, right? It went away from me. Lead did not put a whistle on it. And if I'm the lead and I know that there's contact, I'm 100% sure that there was illegal contact. I'm going to tell you the cadence of my whistle, and I'll play this in full speed and we'll go. Boop. So my cadence is going to come in probably late. It's going to come in when I know, you know what, my sitter didn't have a whistle. There was illegal contact. Absolutely going to put a whistle on that. I'm absolutely going to put a whistle on that, but I'm going to give my center the first opportunity. Up, no whistle, no whistle, no whistle. Okay, I got to come in. Boop. And it's going to be a cadence whistle, a delayed whistle. All right, so I love this note. If a cadence whistle occurs at the same time, because we have a lot of double whistles, and we talk about that in terms, we have a lot of double whistles. If we're having a ton of double whistles, that means that you are blowing in your secondary as a primary, right? Because your primary is putting a whistle on it and you're putting a whistle simultaneously. That means you're too quick, right? And so if the cadence whistle occurs at the same time as the primary whistle, then the cadence whistle is blown too soon. Now, if we have a boop, and then just by reaction, you just kind of go, okay, boom, then, and you'll hear the toot. It's when you're putting simultaneous whistle on a play that happens in your partner's primary that we really want to avoid. Let's trust our partners in those plays. Does that help with cadence? All right. Help calls. Ooh, this is a sensitive subject because some people believe that you should only help when it's an absolute crew saver, non-basketball plays, fights. Look, if you're working with me, if you can save me or you can save a call, absolutely. I'm not talking about, you know, a marginal contact type foul. I'm not talking about, but if I miss a travel in my primary and it's in your secondary, absolutely, come help me. Let's get the play right. If it's a, you know, a deliberate hold in a place that I just can't see it, and the jersey comes out and everything else, then absolutely come in and help me. Obviously, I want to own my primary and I want to be really good in it, but I'm not going to see everything. And I think that our call accuracy increases when we put whistles on fouls. It does not mean that you have to help me on, like I said, on this center curl play. You know, Lee does a good job. I wouldn't have helped on that play because, again, I know that I don't have a great look. Yeah, it looks like a foul to me, but I want to be 100% sure if I'm going to help. Okay, and so help plays are plays that you're helping the crew make sure that our call accuracy goes up. I know Wilson's talked about it, and I hear it all the time. When we don't put whistles on plays, our call accuracy actually goes decreases. We want to increase that call accuracy and our percentage of correct calls. We got to put whistles on plays, and if it means that my partners are going to help me, then help me. But understand that if I've got 5 or 6, or if you have to help me 6, 7, 8 times a game by putting double whistles on plays that I have, then are you helping or are you refereeing out of your primary? Are you ball watching? All right, and that goes back to just double whistle, triple whistles. And here's a good situation. And again, not to because this is a transition play. This is a transition play. So all eyes on rebounders. Boom, and we have a simultaneous double whistle. This would be a trail position, and Mark will get to your transition coverage here shortly. But definitely, this is probably one where, if we have a cadence whistle at center, or we're just a little more patient, we would have seen that our new trail has a call and good. What I love about this, and this is just an absolute veteran official who just, he knows that, and our center absolutely realizes, all right, cool, my trail has it, primary has it, boom, I'll put my fist down and I'm not even trying to take it to the table. And our veteran official, no hesitation, puts the whistle on it, and he knows he's going to take it to the table. He goes and takes it. And really, it's not a double whistle like that isn't a reason to get upset at your partner or anything like that. It's just understanding, oh, yep, my trail's got it. And our center does a phenomenal job of just going, oh, cool, he got it, I'm out. Nice pickup. RSBQ, okay, and and I was short on time, so I didn't pick the best RSBQ play, but it is an RSBQ play, and it's rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. You'll hear us, if you're a new official, RSBQ all the time. What does it mean? RSBQ, rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. Does the defender affect any of these things? Does it affect the rhythm, the speed, the quickness, the balance or the quickness of the ball handler? Okay, and so in this play, it's not terrible RSBQ contact, but it is a foul. This is illegal contact because she does redirect her. She does affect her rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness. All right, subtle, okay, but this ball handler and like many other ball handlers are very athletic, and this defender's athletic, and all it takes is a little arm bar. It's a two-hand arm bar and a little push, just enough to slow her down and get her to change her direction. Okay, these are fouls. Those are RSBQ fouls. We want to have those, especially early in the game, early and often. Those will help us later on in the game, but make sure that if you have RSBQ fouls early and often, that same RSBQ foul is going to still be applied in the fourth quarter with 1 minute left in the game and a tied game. So just be understanding that you set the tone early in the game, and it really will help your game later on. Heightened awareness, and this is the last slide, and the reason why I wanted to put this in is because and Jimmy Casas, who is a mentor to many of us, and he is a New Mexico, he loves to give back to us. And something that I've always refereed with the mindset of is dead ball officiating and off ball officiating. Okay, that's where you earn your money. You don't earn your money, calling fouls in your primary. That's the easy part. It's managing games outside of what's happening in your primary. A lot of the junk that we deal with is in our off-ball areas, right? So that's why it's important to stay in your primary, because even though the ball's not in your primary, if you referee that primary, you're going to catch any holds or any chippy players or an elbow, a punch, maybe something, but it's that heightened awareness and having the knowledge of what players are doing on the floor that are going to save you from some kind of fight in the future or something that you don't want to deal with. And I'll tell you, I mean, in the last 3 years, Dana and I and Sally have received multiple fight situations on film, and we're talking full out fights because, and I don't want to say lack of heightened awareness because it's not that. It's just, you know, understand where the onset of the situation happened, because all it is just a nice little chuck. And if you are lucky enough to see that little chuck, address it, because if you address it right there, maybe you prevent the retaliation, and then the third retaliation, and then the fourth. So be really good in your off ball and be really good during dead ball situations. Dead ball, we hear the whistle blow. All right, cool. I get to relax. No, actually, that's when we go to work. That's relax during live play when, you know, you don't have a competitive matchup in your primary, you know. But other than that, once that whistle's dead, that's when you want to cover that. All right, so Mark, I want to get to your question, and let me see if I can't pull up a stop share, and I'll just pull up any game. So Mark, are you available to unmute?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so why don't you elaborate on what we don't pregame and how we can do it? As a veteran, you've experienced a lot of this stuff, so explain to us kind of what you look at in transition and what you're doing. And while I pull up this play.
Well, the only thing, the question that I was trying to get across was that, you know, we when we discuss primary coverage areas, we talk about it, you know, in the front court most of the time. But when we have these teams that constantly do a full court press on, you know, how, especially for these newcomers, how we can assist them in giving them that mentality of your coverage areas during a full court press. Where do you position yourself from the time the ball comes in on the end line from the backcourt, and as it proceeds from the backcourt to the front court?
All right, absolutely. And I just pulled up a play, and obviously this is when we started talking press. I always think of Hobbs, boys and girls, because that's all they ever do is press. So thanks, Mark.
Sure.
And feel free to unmute if I incorrectly explain this, because you got a lot of experience, and I'd like your input on this. Okay, so obviously we have a front court set. We have a shot that goes up and a made basket. Okay, knowing that Volcano just scored, knowing that Hobbs is going to press, our center official, you're going to want to stay in your home position in the front court, but in the back court, or we call it the first line of defense. So in this situation, our center starts to leave, our trail starts to leave. And this is probably, and let me see, and we're still early in the game, so maybe adjustments happening or still recognizing. But in this situation, I'm going to freeze frame it right there. If our center stays where she's at, she's got a great look at this matchup, because lead can't, or the new trail can't referee this play. Trail's going to have the throw in, and this matchup, this competitive matchup, and our new lead is going to have, and I would say no further than the deepest defender or offensive player. Okay. So obviously we can't see what's happening. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a 10th player somewhere out of the screen. That's not competitive. So really our trail could probably be either at the division line, maybe a couple steps still in the backcourt. Our center needs to be free throw line extended in this situation. Boom. Because on that first pass, and this is how I've always been taught, is the center always has the next pass. So in a transition or in a press situation. So in this case, the very first pass, that's going to be center's responsibility until the trail has the opportunity to catch up. Okay. So here in this situation, our center stays, boom. They have a look, and then once she releases, then she can shuffle a couple more steps. Right? So the ideal position by breakdown, boom, center still right here. As soon as she realizes that she gets rid of the ball and that player's good, boom, then I'm going to take a couple steps. So now our center should probably be about right here. Going. Okay, now once we know that we're clear, we can move down the floor. Mind you, when I say that the center has the next pass, that is sideline to sideline. This is the only time that center referee will referee. Now you're going to cut your court into thirds, the back third, the middle third, and the front third, right? So now, and that coverage covers sideline to sideline, just like our new trail is going to cover their third sideline to sideline in transition. Our center is going to cover the middle third sideline to sideline.
I'm having trouble.
So if something happens here, it is absolutely okay for our center to come help with that. If that play happens here, our center can absolutely come across and help with that in transition. Something happens right here because our trail is refereeing this play. Boom. And now we get back and we're good. Does that explain, Mark? Did I clarify that? Okay.
Yes, it does. You pretty much covered it.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is absolutely right, Mark. We don't really pregame that enough. We don't talk about that enough. And especially with these teams that press, it's absolutely important that and really just be patient with a team that's pressing. No, just understand that at center you really have to just hang out and hold tight. So, all right, and with that concludes my slides. Any questions?
Nate.
Yeah.
Also, just to mention, I'm lucky to be in that group with Mark. The trail also needs to pinch down and be like at the half court area, unless there's defenders behind him, to help out with the press. And
yeah, absolutely.
I got dinged on a couple times because they wanted me to come down a little bit more.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. If you're, are you talking about the trail or the new lead?
The trail off the press.
Okay, so you want her to pinch?
So the trail come down a little bit more into like the half court area during a press to help out the crew in the front court.
Nate, if I understand Oliver correctly, what he's referring to is the transitional tee to the lead. Like say we were accounting for 9 players in the backcourt on the throw in, and yet put himself in a position to help out wherever that 10th player was at. With the center was where you were showing it with your cursor on where that should be positioned.
I got dinged on that a couple of times.
Yeah, because a lot of times what our new trail does is they go straight down to the other end line, and there's 10 players on the other side of the floor. So yeah, absolutely move with the players. Don't be in a hurry to, like I said, you want to be with probably the deepest defender, or competitive matchup is where you want to be as the trail, or trail the new lead. So does that help with terminology? I know basic terminology, veteran officials, really we've got to do, and my message to the veteran officials is we got to do a better job of using the terminology with our newer officials and educating them on what we use, and so that we are consistent. And then new officials, oh, pick the brains of these veterans. I mean, we have, Mark just unmuted, and we've, and my screen right now, we've got Leonard and Crawford Clark in the Southeast, and just so many veteran officials that absolutely can help you. And so have conversations. And when you're having these conversations, you're talking about plays. I know something that helped me and is mentors that wouldn't let me, speak when I'm like, well, that player that was on that other side of the floor. No, what's the correct terminology? The opposite third, and those are the things that kind of help you start working in that terminology. And it really is helpful. And I think as a state, we can probably do a better job of it. But again, it takes practice. And I think that this is a good start.
So Nate, there's a question, if you would be able to speak on two-man mechanics during one of the meetings. So I don't know if you want to do a full one or a one that's separated out for some of our future vets, or how you want to do that.
Yeah, so I would actually rather have a separate meeting for two-person mechanics, and obviously I am not an expert at two-person mechanics. I came in at a time where we were throwing into 3 right away, but 2 is necessary when 70% of our state is covered with two-person mechanics. But I would say that yeah, I'll work with Dana on setting up a separate meeting for any future vets or anybody that just wants a two-person mechanic refresher. It is important because especially in a year like this, there might be times that we are going to work two-person mechanics because a partner tests positive or is injured or whatever the case may be. We need to be ready to referee two-person mechanics. Obviously, it's not ideal. We don't want to do it, but again, it's good knowledge. And like I said, our veterans, reach out to them. They have a great deal of knowledge, and you really need to rely on them. I don't consider myself a veteran or anybody in my age group. We've still got a lot of learning to do, and so we know things, but again, we haven't seen everything. And so if you want to see plays or you want to hear about plays, you got to talk to the veterans.
And there are a couple of questions about scheduling and whatnot. So one of the questions was, and I have to look back because I can't find it. About scrimmages or potential training, on-court training. There are no scrimmages this year. So I asked Sally today in an email, and she's going to get me an answer about officials being able to go to practices to do some work and get some reps in. I'm waiting to find that out. So as soon as I know, I will let you know. And then the basketball start date, I just got that question. Tentatively, the practice begins March 22nd with games beginning on March 27th. So we'll keep y'all posted as far as if there are any changes to that. And then Nate, topic on communicating with coaches. That's something that's in the chat box.
Absolutely, and that is definitely something that we can all work on. It is one of the hardest things in officiating. The communication aspect. I'll tell you, depending on the level of officiating that I'm doing, I'm either a really good communicator or I'm a terrible communicator, and that is based off of my experience and my knowledge. I will tell you that before we have a communications, be really good with your rules. The more confident you are with your rules, the more confident you're going to be communicating with players, your partners, and coaches. Obviously, when I referee at that next level, I'm not as proficient in my rules as I am with high school rules, kind of, because I have to call Robert Abney every once in a while, at least twice a week during season. But but I feel more proficient with those, so it's easier for me to communicate. So communication tip number 1 before we have a communications thing is know your rules, or just be like Ronnie Hernandez and you're just a legend and you just got it. Sorry,
Nate.
Ronnie, you're in my screen.
Nate.
Yeah, hold on, my headphones are dying. Hold on a second.
This is Oliver again.
Okay, hold on, Oliver. My headphones are dying, so I gotta connect something else. Hold on.
He does that to me at work. He'll say my headphones are dying and he doesn't even have them in. He's just not listening to me. So
Maybe he's just tired of the questions.
maybe tired of hearing me.
Now you know how my group feels.
Okay, I can hear you now, Oliver. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say this was a great training. Terminology is a big important part of the game. It's gotten me out of a lot of things with coaches. I've been coaching for 25 years. I officiate just as a hobby because I want to be good at every facet of the sports that I coach. So I've been a coach, I've been a player, I've been official now, and I just want to know the ins and outs. And a lot of coaches and stuff, it's nice when they tell you, hey, he's over the back, he's over the back. That's overlapping, that's overlapping. He's dribbling the ball over his shoulder. All that stuff. And when you have the terminology to say, hey, coach, there's no such thing as over the back. It's pushing.
Right.
There's no such thing as overlapping. You can dribble the ball as high as you want, as long as your palm isn't going over a handshake over the ball. And knowing those terminology and knowing the way to speak, it also makes these coaches realize, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this young lady knows what she's talking about. So,
Absolutely. Anytime we
so
can
I
use
think
our
terminology was great. I thank you, appreciate it, and thank you for what you guys do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. And absolutely, anytime you can reference the rule book, I know that I've gotten away from by rule, just instead of saying by rule, just state the rule. That's kind of how you show your knowledge too. But again, you can't communicate well without a rule book, and that's something you got to be able to do. So any other questions? And I don't have this in a PowerPoint. I do kind of, but I'll make sure that I get it in a way that you guys can get these slides.
And there was a question, just for the purposes of the recording, about the tentative dates for the state basketball tournament. They are right now tentatively scheduled for May 3rd through the 8th. And I'm not sure how that'll look as far as locations or any of that stuff. So that's all still being developed, I think. Good job, Nate.
That's fun. I don't get to do that too often. So I love talking basketball, and so if you guys have questions or anything else, feel free to reach out. Chances are I'll probably have to call one of my mentors or a veteran that actually knows the answer. So fake it till you make it, or fake it till you become it. How about that?
Let's see, if kids don't go back to school, are we still going to have basketball games? We don't know that yet. And yes, we will have another TikTok released tomorrow. So Oliver, we won't let you down. But Charles, we haven't gotten the answer yet. I know that there are a number of school boards for trying to figure out how to get with the PED about hybrid versus in-person versus everything else. So we'll keep everyone posted about that as well. We're still a lot of unknowns, and it is ever changing.
Yep, and anybody that's on still, you do get meeting credit for this. So, boom. If anyone thought, it's just a refresher, they missed out on and there's no makeup for these refreshers. So, if you were on, you got meeting credit.
That's why they're a bonus. We're not gonna just hand it to you.
Hey, Ronnie, I was hoping you would unmute and explain to us what you do on the communication aspect.
You know, a lot of it comes with experience. When I first started out, I was instructed, hey, don't say much, But again, a lot of it is determined on, your experience. It's, coaches begin to trust you. They see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. And again, it's easy to talk to coaches, and that's my big deal. Of course, we communicate with the officials, but with your partners. But the big thing is trying to gain the confidence of these coaches. And the thing about it is, you made a good point. By rule, like I said, I've coached, football for 44 years, and it sounds kind of intimidating when you say, "Oh, by rule, this is this." But if you tell them, "Coach, I think this is what it is. We need to do this. This is why it happened." And I think the coach is a little bit less, not intimidated, but he's not as upset. He's willing to listen to you. But those are the kind of things that I think you need to get good at is sometimes not saying anything to a coach is a good thing. Just listen to him and say, coach, or tell him, hey, coach, you may have a point there. From where you're at, where I'm at, you probably had a better look at it. And, 99.9% of the time, they're going to buy into that. They're going to appreciate that. And, they're going to listen to you, a little bit more. And again, a lot of it comes with being a veteran official. The little gray hair I have on my head, that helps quite a bit as opposed to when I was all dark-headed, So again, those have been my experiences, and I've kind of basically developed my rapport, my communication skills with referees and with coaches over time. It just doesn't happen overnight.
And real quick before Ronnie mutes himself, for those of you that
Pardon me?
don't know, for
Pardon
those
me?
of you that, hold
Did you have
on.
another question?
No, yeah, I said before you mute yourself, I just want to introduce you to some of the officials that don't actually know you. Ronnie Hernandez is a long-time Division I men's official. He was out of El Paso. Now he lives in Ruidoso, and he has done, he's still a current Division I men's official, still works in the Western Athletic Conference, the Western Consortium, and the fact that he still gives back to high school sports and the local areas, we can't thank you enough, Ronnie, for doing that. So appreciate that. And Ronnie has been a huge help at local camps, whether it's in Las Cruces or up north or here in Albuquerque. He's definitely helped out a ton. So we appreciate that.
I just want to say one thing to all you guys that have, gone through, going to go through all this stuff as far as COVID is concerned. It's a serious deal, man. And you guys got to take care of yourselves. I'm going to tell you what just happened to me today. I went to go work out and I was coming back home and I got a text from my boss. I had a weekend. I had 3 games scheduled for this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And just like that, I get a call from my boss and say the games have been canceled because somebody on one of the squads has tested COVID. So, you guys need to be real careful. And, they don't test the high school players like they do the college players or the referees. We got to get tested like 3 times a week. So you guys just take care of yourself because this stuff is serious, and it's you guys need to be around for a while to keep refereeing these kids' games.
Thanks for that, Ronnie.
I have a question to piggyback on Ronnie. For the COVID related, I know that Dana sent out the black masks with the whistles. Is the whistle going to have to stay in the pocket of your mouth whenever you blow your whistle? And whenever you're reporting, are you able to drop the mask down like the football referees do? And because you're verbal with it so that they can read your mouth as well as your hand movements? Or how is there any guidance on that?
So, Jordan, we really don't have any of those answers yet as far as what will be required. I know that like what Ronnie and I are required to do is going to be completely different than what we're going to do. I think we just wait it out and then wait till we get closer to the season. For now, just plan on having a a mask that covers your whistle and plan on having that whistle in your mouth or in the area of the mask. That would be the safest bet. But as far as what like those specifics, I don't know, and we don't know.
Nate, just to add on to that, you know, and I know the women are doing something, and this may be for you, Dana. You know, you probably have a lot closer contact with the higher ups, but this year I've refereed every one of my games with a mask, my whistle in my mouth, and I've worn black gloves. And again, you're going to see a lot of guys that do that.
It's all dependent on what each state has in terms of their requirements. And like in New Mexico, the whole mask thing is because it's a public health order. In other states, that may not be the case. So it's really a state by state decision for the most part. The National Federation has some COVID practices, but they, you know, there will be things that are refined by each state according to what their public health orders are. So we're waiting until we get a little bit closer to the start of basketball just to get out that finalized information. I know that gloves were brought up pretty early on, like in October when we were getting ready to start volleyball, and the gloves were basically found to not be any different than somebody's hands unless they actually change the gloves every time they touch something. So that was kind of a, you know, no need to wear those. So it just kind of depends on not only what the state requires, but also what the official's comfortable with. So if the official feels more comfortable wearing gloves, then we're not going to keep them from doing it. It's all up to, you know, your comfort and personal preference to some extent, aside from the fact that you have to wear a mask and you have to have a whistle. So
yeah, well, you know, like my advice is the more protection you guys can have, the more that the state allows you what you can wear, the better off you're going to be. That's my personal opinion.
Thanks,
again,
Ron.
we'll get out to everybody what the state requirements are for us as it gets a little bit closer. So Sally's still getting information from the DOH and from the governor's office. And as soon as we get more from them, we'll be able to give you more information.
Hey, Nate, can I chime in for a second?
Yeah, absolutely, Doug.
So on the women's side, we've been required to wear masks in the RMAC. And what I'm finding is that it's coming down to more visual mechanics. We can do a lot of this without having to speak. So it's a lot of mechanics at the spot of the foul, you know, showing whether it's a push, block, charge, hold, whatever it is, and then reporting at the table and just being solid and crisp with mechanics at the table as far as showing what number it is and what the call is. So being a little more crisp with mechanics. For me, I leave my whistle in the whole time. Obviously, when play's going on, during free throws, dead balls like timeouts and things like that is when I'll remove it from my mouth. But for the most part, it's just trying to get comfortable with keeping that whistle in your mouth for times when you usually wouldn't. But like I said, bottom line is crisp mechanics at the spot of the foul, and then again when you're reporting, and that seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely, and those are all great points. And if anything, hopefully, our mechanics get better with this, because it is a lot of nonverbal communication. And Michael Roybal asked what types of masks are the college officials wearing. I've seen a bunch of different things, and Doug, you've probably seen a bunch of different things, and Ronnie, you know, I wear the Under Armour mask and I just put my whistle under it because it has a nice little pouch and it fits under there.
That's what I'm wearing also.
Yep. And then, but I've seen, in fact, I worked with a partner a few weeks ago that had the KN95 because it kind of has like a little beak looking thing. And you know, he said his whistle fit under there nicely, and he didn't. The only time he brought out his whistle was at halftime. Otherwise, it stayed in there, just like my whistle stays on the side of my mouth, even when I'm talking. And then when I'm ready to referee, then I put it back in the center of my mouth. But I really don't take it out of my mouth. Like it's gonna be. I'm gonna forget how to drop it after you blow the whistle. Because it is definitely weird.
Absolutely.
Hey Nate, it's Tim. Quick question.
Sure, Tim.
So, are the kids going to get tested? How often?
We don't know that. As of right now, I don't think they are required to get tested.
They're not.
Wow.
It's just cost prohibitive for schools. There's really no way at this point for kids to get tested. So there is not a current requirement for officials to get tested, for players to get tested. That could all change. We don't know. It's all dependent upon the governor, but at this point, that is not a mandate.
Hey, check this out. And I brought this up in the soccer meeting, and I actually had a conversation with a basketball official a couple weeks ago, and there were a ton of questions about what if this and what if that and what if this, and I don't know if Ronnie's still on, but we are getting protocols every day that have changed, and it's to the point where I can't keep up, and I don't think Ronnie can keep up or anybody. And I'm sure Doug in the RMAC has been getting all kinds of communication, and it's just the way that I look at it is I know what the CDC has said is safe practice. I know if I don't feel comfortable doing certain things, the question was, well, what happens if we're in a small locker room? Well, no problem. I go dressed to the game because our supervisor has said that we can. So dressed to the game, in pre-games that I've had with the crew, it's via FaceTime or via Zoom, and we pre-game 2 hours prior to the game, and then we literally walk into the arena right before. But it's ultimately what you feel comfortable with and protecting yourself. The protocols, trust me, are going to change every day. But if you know what is required to keep yourself safe and you take care of yourself, then let the protocols, let the Danas and the Sallys of the world worry about that stuff, and the athletic directors worry about that stuff. I just know I'm going to do everything to keep myself safe. And if I can do that, then all the what ifs, I don't really care about the what ifs, because I know what I'm going to do to keep myself safe.
Right. And the reason why I bring that up is because some of the damn locker rooms that we go to are disgusting. Escalante is one of them.
And like I said, and that's, again, it's a situation where if you're not comfortable, you show up dressed to the game and tell your crew we're gonna pregame on the phone. We're gonna have a conference call, and maybe the day before, day of, and let your assigner know, hey, we're not going into that locker room because it's not big enough, and two, I don't feel comfortable. So we pre-gamed last night over the phone, and we'll be there 20 minutes prior to the game, and we'll walk into the gym.
I was going to say, and there's a chance that you may not even have access to locker rooms. So that's something. I know Sally sent an email out to ADs today, and it was talking about there will be accessibility locker room for kids, but not showers. So we don't know what that's going to look like for the basketball season for players or officials at that time. So it may be come dressed to the site, and then you'll have to stand in a hallway at halftime or something. We don't know how that's going to look. So just kind of keep your eyes open for the emails we send out. And like I said, so much of this is still up in the air. We're trying to get football, soccer, and volleyball and cross country out of the gate, and then everything hopefully will be we'll have a little more clarity with regard to the rest of the sports.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and like I said, Tim, and anybody else that has COVID questions, you can ask that question now, but it's going to change 10 times before next Monday. And so, my recommendation is just kind of hold tight, just kind of like what I do is I get these emails, COVID, new COVID guidelines, it's happening every other day. And I'm like, whatever, I'll do what's safe for me, and then kind of rely on game administration and the upper people to figure out the rest of it. And if I don't feel safe, then I keep myself out of that situation. But all right, I think that's it's getting late, past my bedtime.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you for hanging on with us. Nate, thanks again for the presentation.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Good,
Thank
I did too.
So,
Good night, y'all. We'll be in touch soon.